What's up, audio nerds? Welcome to the fifth episode of Pro Audio Loft. I'm Larry, head engineer and owner of Bigfoot Studios. We're a studio based in Rome, right in front of the Vatican. We provide mixing, mastering, and production services. Okay, so today we're basically I'm giving you some mixing tips that I like to use throughout my mixing sessions. This is gonna be a really quick tip, easy to use, no big fuss about it. It's not about really difficult or complicated and fancy plugins or hardware gear. It's gonna be a really simple tool that I use every day, and this bad boy over here, the Logic's Overdrive. Now, um, of course, any overdrive can work for what I'm doing. So if you're not using Logic or you're using any other DAW, make sure to um, see those settings and play with it. Every overdrive has its own tone and harmonic content. I really like the one from the stock from Logic. I use it on almost every of my projects. Um, it is really handy to make things pop out of the speakers, and it's really handy for make things a bit more lively and enhance the harmonic content of the instruments, but without affecting too much of the actual original sound of it. As you can see, I set my drive to 0, but before actually diving into all the technicalities that of under which I'm going to use the overdrive, I will just show you the whole loop that I will use. It's a drum bass loop, a reggaeton beat, nothing fancy. So I made it really easy so you can really catch the idea. And after that, I will describe how I approach overdriving each of the channels and the bass channel and how it affects the overall dynamic range, punch, harmonic content, and um, overall sound of the drum bass. So let's take a listen to the drum loop, and then we'll dive into the nerdy side of it. Okay. Okay. Really simple beat, nothing fancy. So basically what I did on each of the channels, as you can see here, is I put it at the end of, or almost at the end of every chain. In this case, I decided just to enhance some of the uh, side and reduce some of the mid frequencies, because I wanted a wider stereo image for this specific loop, but this is nothing crazy. And as you can see, it's all every time it's put at the end of the processing. So every time I have an instrument, for example, I just process it and then I overdrive it. In this case, it's just some easy sidechain, nothing crazy. Um, so let's dive into it. I will show you first the single instruments and how they're sounding with and without the overdrive, and then we'll dive into the overall approach on the drum bus with all the overdrives working and the overdrive on the drum bus on. You'll see and hear a huge difference, in spite also of a really small change in gain. And also what you will see is that the transients and the peaks are flattened out by the principle of distortion. So it's basically all the heavy peaks are tamed out, so you get less dynamic range. Your mix will sound louder, will be perceived as louder, while in reality it is at the same RMS level. So it is really interesting in this sense. And that's the beauty of saturation, right? That's why all the mixing engineers are actually saturating a lot. And so let's dive in and see what it does to the individual instruments. Let's start from the 808, okay? It gets really deeper. Like I can feel the lower frequencies better, the mid-band frequencies of the 808, so the tonic harmonics that give the tone to the 808, they come alive. So I can actually hear some notes instead of some low-end rumble. Let's hear the kick thump. Okay, so this is without the overdrive. Again, in this case, I must say that I leveled matched every single instrument with the overdrive. So it is not producing in terms of output. It is not increasing the output of the instrument. It is kept at the same level because I level matched it from the output trim here on the plugin. And this is something I really suggest to do it because you always get the idea of what you're actually adding or subtracting. It depends on what you're doing with any sort of processing. So always gain match stuff so you don't get fooled by the increase in levels and volume because that's really something that our human ear tends to do is what sounds louder it feels better even if it actually sounds worse on a harmonic content or dynamic content. It depends on what you're doing. So as you could hear, the thumb came in way more in this case. Let's go to the top kick in this case. So let me rename it. This is a top kick. Um, let's hear with and without. This was more subtle as I already distorted a lot. It had already a lot of harmonic content, but I felt that a little bit of the high end transients were coming out a little bit more. Let's go to this loop. Really simple one. This is without the overdrive. Again, here it was really subtle, but you'll hear a difference when all these things are playing together with and without the overdrive. Let's go to the toms. They get punchier. They get also a little bit wider in terms of stereo image. They get alive, but in a really gentle way. And take into account that I always level matched everything, so you're just hearing what I'm adding in terms of harmonic content. Let's go and hear the clap. Sorry. It's sort of adding a little bit of that sizzleness on the top end of the clap without affecting it too much, and I really like this effect. Let's hear the hats. Again, the sizzle came in from the hats, and it's really pleasing because it's not harsh. It's just opening up gently, bringing in some air to the whole loop, which is really pleasing to hear. Let's start and let's move on. Sorry, to the march roll, and this is it. Let's have a listen to it. Even here it gets a little bit brighter. And finally we get to the shakers. Let's hear the shakers alone without not being overdriven. Again, the sizzle came in way more in this case. Let me route it to the drum bus because I actually forgot to do it. And let's have a listen to the overall drum bus. Again, I also did an overdrive addition to the drum bus with the level compensation on. And yeah, we'll just hear the dry signal. So without all of the overdrives turned on, let me turn them off. Okay, so let's hear the dry signal first, and then the wet signal with the overdrive on the drum bus and all of the channels. Okay, let's start. Look at the RMS level. we're basically getting a slight increase in RMS, but the perceived loudness is way more. And also, you can see from the meters that a lot of the really harsh transients are being peaked out by the distortion, by the overdrive. So by actually saturating, really hitting transients, we get to tame them out a little bit, get some more headroom for our mix, and in that sense, by getting more headroom, we're able to make the other instruments cut more through the mix instead of worrying too much about the whole headroom that the drums are taking. And so our mix will sound louder even if we have a small increase in volume in this case, which is given by the additional overdrives put in series. And also, this is really pleasing because everything comes to life. Just feels dead without overdrive. Let's listen again. There's really no comparison. It's a night and day difference. So yeah, that's the tip of the week. Really quick, really easy. Use it wisely. And yeah, if you don't have Logic, there's plenty of overdrives free around the. Also by brands, they produce a lot of really nice overdrives. I think Kilohertz does a really cool overdrive. I have it with my Slate bundle. It's really cool. Make sure to try it out. I guess every DAW has its own overdrive. Take a listen and start from this sort of preset. Always remember to gain match and set the overdrive to 0. So it will just sort of emulate a machine that is adding harmonic content but without the overdrive button working. Still, you get some more harmonic content out of it because it's a machine. So this is sort of mentality under which we should work. Always keep into account what is happening in the analog world and translate it into the digital world. I thank you again for your attention. I hope you're all safe in this difficult period. And if you like these videos, please show some love, subscribe, ask me questions, hit me up on emails, on socials. Follow us on our socials; they're linked below. And yeah, feel free to drop suggestions for the next videos. And I salute you, and I was really happy to film this tutorial for you guys, and I hope you got something out of it. Keep it real, keep it 100. Ciao.